Hello and welcome back to Fire Emblem The Last Promise 0% Growths, Low Turn Count Run. This video is tackling Chapter 17, a map where the group is split up into two forces, one with just Kellic and Sean, which we have to baby, basically the entire map, and one where everybody else that gets deployed is. The boss of this chapter is a recruitable unit. He will become green when you approach the throne room, and you do not need to talk to him in order to actually recruit him. He joins at the end of the map. The guide and requirement is completing the map in under 17 turns, but you also cannot skip the ending cutscene apparently, so I just mashed B to clear through that. I'm doing this map solo because it took me a while to come up with, and I want this to get out as soon as possible. Because I'm not going to spend that much time talking about him because the rest of the map is complex, we get a new unit named Mark, who's a pirate who joins at the start of turn 1, and he does a couple things for us in the middle of this map. Getting right into it. We also get the convoy, a merchant named Luke, who, just like Marlinus, gets deployed after the preps. He's going to be deployed in basically every single map. Sorry about that, I dropped my microphone and it unplugged itself, so I had to pick it up, and that's why you'll notice that the footage skipped forward a little bit. I went into the unit menu and got Kellic to one-run that archer. Sean and Kellic have to... Well, basically, Kellic kills every single enemy in his section of the map. Sean cannot fight any of these. And trades Kellic to the killing edge so we can one-shot that mercenary on enemy phase. These two generals here are roughly as bulky as Rorik in the previous map, but unlike Rorik, they don't have 10 speed. Both of them have 6, and they don't have Brave Lances, so Ash can double them with a hand axe. Emma and Ash work together to chip this first general into heal AI. If Altares and Emma swap their starting positions, I would be able to take out the first one on this turn, but it shouldn't change anything. Yeah, these positionings are kind of precise. They don't... I say kind of. They're not particularly that important other than the flyers and then the main combat uses. Shuda gets deployed this map because he was originally going to help out with the generals, but turns out he doesn't need to. Tekun has an Iron Sword and a Lance Reaver. He gets to promotion level this map. This is the last map he has to get to promotion level before he needs to. Kellic one-shots that mercenary with a killing edge crit, and Sean equips a slim lance just so he doesn't have weapon triangle disadvantage. That general throws a javelin at Karina, who is equipped a Axe Reaver, to make the fighter have very low hit rates against her. Mark's big contribution to this map happens on this turn. He throws a hand axe and one-rounds the fighter. That's his big contribution to this map, basically. That door key gets saved for a later map, mainly because we have Al close enough to open up the treasure room when we need to. There are 2 treasure rooms on this map, actually. One of them has an armor slayer, hammer, L-fire, and I forget the other item, but it doesn't really matter. Ash weakens this general by throwing a hand axe at it, after he gets danced after killing the other general. Then Itsuki attacks this general with the Fire Tome. Itsuki does a lot in this map, a lot more than you would expect, actually, considering he's, still at base stats. Karina uses the Emblem Lance to one-round this soldier. Whether or not she gets hit doesn't particularly matter. Emma then finishes off this general. Whether or not she gets hit doesn't particularly matter, because all the enemies that are in this section of the map are dead by the end of this turn. Learn picked up Tekun last turn, which is interesting. You'll see why. 7 RNs are burnt here in order for Zack to killer bow crit this monk. This monk needs to be out of the way so that Al can get closer to the treasure room. I was just consulting my notes there. This is a very long map, so you'll be seeing me pause to consult my notes multiple times throughout it. Ben kills a soldier right here by throwing a javelin at it twice. Ben doesn't get hit until the last enemy phase. He gets a lot of lance experience here, although Karina still needs it more. Also on this map, which you'll be seeing next turn, is a secret shop. Not next turn, 2 turns from now. There is a secret shop. It sells a couple things that we are not getting, but I will mention them just for posterity's sake. It sells a light foam called Vamuin that inflicts poison on enemies and is B rank. It sells an air caliber tome, which is 8 might, which is actually quite good, but it's either B rank or C rank. We don't get an anime user that actually has decent offensive stats, so it's kind of useless. It also sells the Capriccio, or however it's pronounced, which is a lance that is 55 hit, and I believe 60 crit, but it's only 5 might, and only has 10 uses, so it's not worth our time. It also sells another Mithril Blade. Mithril Blades are heavy. There's no other way around that. Mithril Blades are heavy weapons that aren't going to be used very much. Shooter rejoined us with one last map, and that's the only one we're going to need for a while. There are... I feel like I'm missing another item. Yes, the rifle bow. We don't need an extra rifle bow. After that, there are items that we actually do buy, but you'll be seeing those in the secret shop. It's up with Sean and Kellikar, so Sean has the member cards who have access to it. You can buy a member card for 10k gold in Chapter 13... Chapter 14, rather. Or you can get it from a talk conversation between Takun and Altares in Chapter 15, which is why I did it. I believe those are the only methods to obtain a member card, so if you missed it, you're kinda screwed. Most of these secret shops are underwhelming, though. Lyran gets danced so that she can drop Takun and get to her proper positioning. Lyran's combat is really starting to show its weak points. She only has 8 attack speed. Or when carrying someone, 4, which means that she gets doubled when she's carrying someone. However, her bulk is decent enough. Emma, again, mainly faces a functions as a combat unit during this map, not as a staff bot. She only uses a staff on the final turn. But that one staff use gets her to B-rank staffs, which is all she actually needs. During this enemy phase, Lyra needs to dodge either the Javelin or the Mage that attacks her. Ben would have liked to hit this first attack, but it doesn't particularly change a thing. Now, it's actually explained Siegfried up there. That knight in front of him that attacked Sean on turn 1 has a Javelin, a Steel Lance, and a door key. Obviously, we can get the door key. Well, obviously, we need the door key to rescue Siegfried, because it's the first opportunity to get one in the game. Kellic has to face that Armored Knight, so he 3-shots him with the Flamberge over this enemy phase and the next player phase. Zack, once again, does a lot more than you'd expect for being a footlocked archer. He attacks a Thunder Mage to weaken it with the Killer Bow, and then crits up the Shaman to death with the Killer Bow. You might be wondering why we're not conserving this Killer Bow for Lyam, who joins at the end of this map, but it's mainly because he doesn't really need it. He already can use the Silver Bow when he joins. This turn is when Takun gets the last bit of experience he needs in order to promote. He attacks this mage with a Lance Reaver and gets a 6% crit. He would have one-shot the knight with a crit, but I believe the crit number would need to be 5 or higher in order to get the crit. However, it doesn't particularly matter, because he's here and he's able to promote. Emma waits underneath the pillars so that the mercenaries that attack her are not on the pillars, so they have less avoid. She's baiting over a mercenary. Karina and Lyran work together to carry Anakin forward. For the rest of this map, until the final turn, Anakin will be in the backpack of one of her flying units. Or one of her mounted units, rather. Kellic equips the Flamberge here and nearly breaks it over this player phase and enemy phase. He also heals because he takes 1 damage too many. Well, 2 damage too many without healing. Sean could have accessed the secret shop this turn, but then he wouldn't be able to do what he needs to do next turn. In theory, anyway. I'm just going off what my notes said, even though I realized he could visit it this turn. Zack doesn't need to dodge or crit this Armor Knight. The crit gives him a tiny bit more experience, so he gets an extra level. The dodge isn't necessary because he does not die. Kellic crits either of those attacks, he saves the use of the Flamberge, but it doesn't particularly matter. If Kellic is not located there, the knight will attack Itsuki, who one-rounds him, so we don't get the door key on Kellic and Sean, meaning that we lose a turn. Well, we lose turns because we cannot open the door. Itsuki picked up a short bow last turn, now he's picking up a Knight Crest. The Knight Crest is going to go to a particular unit in Chapter 19X. Yes, this is the secret shop I was talking about. We buy 2 halberds and an elixir here. The halberds are important for Chapter 18, and the elixir is useful just because we're running low. Sean then moves over Kellic so that he can open the door next turn, because he has the move to do it. Again, I was consulting my notes. Mark does his second combat contribution for the run by killing a knight. It's not that important nor of a role, but it is still helpful. Ash one-runs the shaman with a hand axe from 2 range, and then Ben weakens this mercenary for Karina to get the kill. You might be wondering, why don't we do it the other way so that Ben gets more lens experience? It doesn't particularly matter. Karina and Ben both need lance experience, and neither of them need experience. Karina is closer to A-rank lances after promotion anyhow. Cheetah gets in position, not for combat, but so that he can start burning our ends properly next turn. And Emma attacks a mercenary. Lyran is carrying Anakin, so she gets weighed down to the point where that mercenary will prioritize her over anyone else. Not to mention, she's the frailest of the units in the mercenary's range. She doesn't need to dodge either attack, and I actually don't think she dodges either of them. Her survivability is perfectly fine there. However, these next few turns, her survivability looks a lot worse. Ben weakens a mercenary by throwing a javelin at it. By weakens, I mean kills. And then, Lyran moves up, gives Anakin to Emma, and then heals. Before cantoing up max, and to most, top left she can. This baits enemies away from Emma, but it also puts her in severe danger. Over the course of this next enemy phase, she faces a mercenary, a hand axe fighter, and a steel axe fighter. The mercenary and hand axe fighter combine to kill her, whereas the steel axe fighter outright one-shots her. Sean opens the door to Siegfried. Either Kellic or Sean can recruit Siegfried by stepping anywhere in the threshold of that room. Ash moves up and heals with the elixir. I was debating on whether or not I actually needed to use it, but I just wanted to be safe because I didn't remember exactly how the enemy phase played out. Karina moves up and equips an axe weaver. This is just, again, to bait some enemies, into attacking, Lyran, instead of her, because it will have higher hit rates against Lyran. Cheetah then burns 24 RNs. This is to ensure Lyran's survivability. Emma survives totally fine. During this enemy phase, some enemies will attack Lyam. One of them has a horse lair. Lyam has a 0% chance of death throughout this map. Even if every single hit against him connects, no enemies have crit against him, and they don't kill him without the possibility of critting him. Lyran over this enemy phase needs to dodge one of the mercenary or hand axe fighter, and dodge the steel axe fighter. Lyam has a silver sword and silver bow with him. This crit is unnecessary because he one-runs the fighter anyway. But that is a 1% crit, which is rather funny. Emma faces a mercenary and 3 cavaliers. She deals with them just fine. Her healing is not necessary, but it is helpful. Lyran weakens this fighter, to the point where somebody else can come in and finish it off. That somebody else is going to be Zack. There's the treasure room I was talking about. Lyam will only move if there is an enemy unit within his range. Because there are no enemies within his range, he stays on the throne. And the reason that we keep that, we don't move Siegfried or Sean, well, specifically Siegfried, after recruiting him, is because that mage will go for Anakin after we drop him, and then Lyam has to get off the throne in order to attack the mage. Zack finishes off that fighter by shooting him with the rifle bow. and then Karina one-runs a Cavalier with the Emblem Lance after luring heals. Those Cavaliers up there, one of them has a droppable Steel Lance, the other drops a Steel Sword. The Steel Lance is nice, the Steel Sword is necessary for some offensive benchmarks in the next chapter. The next chapter may take a little bit, because it's a guided map that is a route. And we have only 2 units besides Anakin who we can deploy. They're either going to be Ash and Lyam, or Tekun and Lyam. Lyam joins the Hero Crest, and Tekun just hit level 10. You will be seeing Tekun's promotion gains in the next map. They are rather sad. However, they do allow him to use Steel Swords unimpeded, so... Anakin gets dropped near to the throne, so he's in that enemy's range. That mage's range, so he's able to take the hit from the mage. A crit doesn't even kill him, I don't believe. And then Lyam will be forced to move off the throne. This enemy phase, some RNs were Brents that Lyran would dodge one of the mercenary or cavalier that attacks her. She only needs to dodge one of the attacks that comes at her on this enemy phase. However, she dodges every single one of them. This is the one at a time Ben gets hit throughout the entirety of the map. He equipped an Axe Reaver and one-rounded a Steel Axe Fighter during the player phase. It was a good call to have Ash heal, because this last enemy phase was kind of improv for where he was positioned, but it all worked out. Ben's Axe Reaver makes it so that these enemies have a very low chance of actually hitting him. This mage forces Lyam to move off the throne. Lyam will then swap to his Silver Bow to one-round the mage, if not one-shot the mage. To go into Lyam, you will be seeing a lot of him throughout the next couple maps. And by next couple maps, I mean the rest of the game. He has 17 strength, 15 skill, 16 speed. His only actual downside is the fact that he only has 7 move because he's a ranger and not a nomadic trooper. But that's workable. We do have a pair of boots. Now, you may be wondering how I'm not talking to him. Well, he joins regardless of whether or not you do talk to him this map. And because we don't need to talk to him this map, we can seize this turn instead. Emma heals up Anakin. This is the only staff use she gets in the entire chapter, and it gets her every point of staff experience she will ever need. However, she will still be being deployed because she's a high mobility staff user, which is very helpful. Not to mention, Mend on a high movement staff user is very helpful. Lyran gets the Steel Sword, and then these actions from Ash and Zack do not matter. Ash just works his way towards getting S-rank axes, which is pointless, but it'd be nice if we get it in the next map, because it improves reliability against the boss of the next map. Zack then weakens his fighter by hitting it once with a rifle bow. He normally has B-rank bows, which doesn't matter. Ben gets to B-rank lances at least after promotion, which is super nice. And then Tekun has C-rank swords, and he's at level 10. Tekun's promotion gains to Swordmaster are slightly different than what you would expect. This next cutscene has voice acting, but however, this plays out as a background music, regardless of if you skip it or not.
Nothing. It's just that you called me Dad.
It's a rather funny thing to see. After that, we skip this cutscene, and then we can embark on the side quest. Thank you for watching this video. The next chapter may take a little bit to come out, it just depends, because the stat benchmarks for it are actually rather difficult because of the ability to only field 2 units besides Anakin. If you have any questions about this map, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.